G'day, Simon here. I want to talk about how to find a good deal. So what are some of the metrics that I'm looking for? And one of the ones that I want to talk about here is the 1% rule. So I want to talk about that. The 1% rule is where the monthly rent is 1% or more to the value of the property. So if the house is worth, say, I'm going to get on the whiteboard again, so excuse me. If the house is worth 100,000 and you get $1,000 per month in rent. So that $1,000 per month in rent is gross. So the tenant's paying $1,000 a month. So what I'm looking at there, the 1% rule is often what a lot of real estate investors see as the watermark of, okay, this is probably likely to be a cash flow positive rental property. So the 1% per month over the course of 12 months combines to be 12%. So that 1% rule of $1,000 a month equals a gross 12% per annum in gross rent. So they're not bad. So you're getting gross 12%. But then what I'm looking at, then you've got to take out some expenses. So what are some expenses that we might have? So if we've got expenses, as a realtor, as a real estate investor, I'm looking at the first one is likely to be the property management. So if you're going to outsource property management, so what I do is I allocate the property management 1%, taxes, so the property taxes on average across the country around about 1%. Insurance, house insurance around about 1%, and then maintenance so 2% to the value of the property. So it's a good rule of thumb. The 1% is a good rule of thumb, and then working out what the expenses would be. Another good rule of thumb, we've got 1% for property management, so you outsource that to a property manager on the on the ground in that area. 1% for taxes, insurance, and then property maintenance, around about 2% should be allocated. Okay, as a general rule of thumb. So that totals up to be 5%. So if you've got a traditional mortgage with a bank, then likely to be in the order of around about 5%. Okay, so then if we said 5% for expenses and 5% for a mortgage, the net there is a 2% return. 2% as cash flow. So what's great is that you can buy a house at $100,000 and be getting $1,000 a month. That's a 1% rule, and that means you're now moving into that positive territory for positive cash flow. Now, there's other benefits to real estate, and one of the big ones is you get to claim the depreciation as off the IRS from a federal tax return, and so then you get that positive. Now, I don't look for the 1%. So what I'm looking for, that's a good rule of thumb, and that means you're now in that neutral ground. What I look for, rather than be a 12% return, my target is a 20% return. So then I take out those expenses, that 5% for property management, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and I take out, say, the mortgage, and rather than getting a 2% return, I'll be getting a 10% return. So that's the sort of thing where I'm looking at areas where I can make that sort of return. Now, a couple of ways that I can do that, and that's as a minimum. For me, 20% is really the minimum that I'm focused on. So how do I do that? How do I find the deals that are like that? Well, like the other video, we were talking about value investing. So if you want to look at that one again, but what I'm looking for is to either buy at a discount, so that I'm not buying the house at 100,000, I'm buying at a discount, but also I'm able to rent it out, but so at the retail price. But what I do is I look in areas where the general norm is where the monthly rent is greater than that 1%. And then if I can buy at a discount, now I'm able to then get my return, a 20% target in cash flow, because I'm able to buy in those good rental areas at a discount. So that makes sense? I hope you enjoyed that. And so the 1% rule, 1%, the monthly rent is 1% to the value of the property. That totals up to be 12%. You take out the expenses and you get cash flow positive. For me, 12% is not enough. I'm looking at 20% to make sure there's good, generous cash flow, because here at Asher Management, we invested in US real estate, US residential real estate, for a generous cash flow. And I think I want to make sure we win. So that's a nice way of doing it. Okay.